This
Last
conference
week.
will now be recorded.
All right, we'll come back to this part again, the adjustment to job profile. Today, I wanted to discuss a bit more about the defaulting aspects of compensation. So we spoke about the compensation eligibility criteria in the beginning, right? And we said that based on the eligibility rules that you have configured, system would automatically default the uh, the relevant compensation aspects. So either it is compensation package or grade profile, or all the different plans that we are going to talk about. So we have looked at salary plan, if I'm not wrong. Maintain compensation steps. Yeah. So we have seen what is a salary plan till now. Okay, today we'll talk about a compensation package. Uh, Now, what is a compensation package? So if I come back to my first class, we looked at, or we spoke in brief about what is a compensation package, right? We said a compensation package is basically a grouping of all your different compensation components. So you create all your compensation components in the sense you create your grades, you create profiles, all your different plans, and then you would go ahead and assign those compensation components to your compensation uh, package, including compensation basis, something we'll talk about in the future. What is the purpose? As I mentioned, this is the grouping of related compensation components. In any project, you may have. All right, guys, am I audible? Just wanted to confirm that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So what is the purpose? One purpose, as I mentioned, is the grouping of related compensation components together. In any project, right? It's a small implementation, maybe a single country, or maybe multi-country implementation. You may have one or more than one compensation packages in the system. So I have seen a compensation implementation for 25 countries, and they just had one compensation package. And the reason is we'll talk about next. So one level is your package is basically a grouping of your compensation plans, right? So if I go to Steve Morgan's profile, and first let's see an existing package. I go ahead and open Steve Morgan's compensation details. Okay, so he is assigned to this package, compensation or executive compensation package. As I mentioned, what is a package? It is nothing but a grouping of your grades, a grouping of your plans, and grouping of your basis. Now, this is a special basis which is called MBT, or manage basis total. In which ways, right now we have not discussed about what is a compensation basis, right? So I'll go ahead and create a compensation package, and the task is it's pretty straightforward. So the task is create compensation package. uh, I'll give a date, and then you define your eligibility rules for the package, right? And then you define all your grades which would be included in your package, right? And all your plans, and these would be all your plan types, whether they are salary plans, whether they are hourly plans. So if you see, you can include your salary plans, your hourly plans, your allowance plans, your bonus plans, all your plan types, your merit plans in a single compensation package, right? The only exception that you see here is if you look at all the plan types, so you have salary, hourly, allowance, bonus, commission, merit, stock, all your plan types. The only exception to this is your one-time payments. So if you see in this list, there's no plan which is or no one-time payment plan. Now again, what is a one-time payment plan? What is the purpose of that plan? We'll talk about all of that later, right? For now, when I'm creating this package, as I mentioned, I can include all my related plan types. So I have included a salary plan, I have included an hourly plan, I can include more salary plans, multiple salary, multiple hourly, multiple allowance plans. So I can, or including all my plan types, right? And system automatically shows me the associated eligibility criteria defined on those plans, right? Okay, as I mentioned, we'll also be including compensation basis. Now, what is a compensation basis? What kind of compensation basis uh, do we include? As I mentioned, this is a specific category of compensation basis, which is called MBT, or your managed compensation basis. Now, what is this? Why would I include this? Uh, all of those we'll talk about later, right? Okay, so this is the first aspect of a compensation package. But then, is this the only purpose of a compensation package? No, right? There is another reason for which you would want to include your compensation elements into a compensation package, and we'll talk about that next. And the purpose is to have your compensation components, right, populate by default for eligible employees during staffing transactions, right? You hire, your transfers, you change job, you add additional job. You must further assign the eligibility rule to a compensation package, right? And associate the default grade. Within that grade, obviously, you'll have the grade profile, uh, and one or more plans with that package, right? Now, what do we mean by this? Okay, so what am I saying? At the first level, uh, your plan default uh, or your plan assignment, right, by workday at the time of staffing is controlled by the eligibility of those plans, right? So, am I eligible for this grade or this grade, right? And that would be determined based on the eligibility rules which are associated with those grades. Again, am I eligible for this allowance or this allowance or this hourly plan or this salary plan? Again, my eligibility and the defaulting behavior is controlled by the eligibility rules associated with each of those individual plans, right? But then that is not enough. To have a compensation component populate by default for eligible employees during staffing transactions, you must do a couple of things, right? First, you have defined the eligibility criteria against those plans, right? Next, you must assign the eligibility rule to a compensation package. So basically, you are going to create a compensation package, define your eligibility rule against that package, and then include all your grades and your plans within that package. So, in essence, for a plan, for a grade to default onto an employee profile, those grades, those plans should have an eligibility rule. They should be in a package, and the package itself should have an eligibility rule, right? So again, your compensation component should have an eligibility rule, and obviously I should be eligible for that rule. They should be in a package, and I should also be eligible to the package based on the eligibility criteria. So any component which is not in your compensation package, even if you are eligible for it, it would not be defaulted to your profile at the time of staffing. Okay, there are certain rules and we'll talk about those rules, right? The first rule is if a worker is eligible for a package, and when I say package, a compensation package. So if a worker is eligible for a package, obviously based on the eligibility criteria, a grade within that package, and also one or more plans within a package, right? In that particular package, then defaulting will occur, right? That package, that grade within the package, and all those plans within the package would be defaulted onto my profile. Okay, so this is the perfect scenario, which is what we aim to achieve when we design our compensation framework. The next one is if a worker is eligible for a plan, right? But that plan is not in a compensation package, right? Then defaulting will not occur, right? But the plan is available to select, right? So even if I am eligible for SKH salary plan, if this plan is not included in a package that I am eligible for, this plan would not be defaulted onto my profile, right? But then since I'm eligible for it, this can be manually assigned, but then system would not do that. Okay, the third option is if a worker is not, we'll discuss about this aspect in a bit more detail, right? So you may say that I can create a single compensation package and include all my plans in that package, right? With that, in that sense, there wouldn't be uh, this issue of a plan not defaulting, right? Okay, we'll further explore on this aspect, right? First, let me note down all the rules. The third one is if a worker is not eligible for a plan, right? And the plan is in the compensation package, defaulting will not occur, right? This is pretty straightforward. Even if a plan is in a package and I'm eligible for that package, I should be eligible for that plan as well, right? So for example, if I look at Steve Morgan, this is the package, and this package has two grades, right? Now Steve Morgan is only eligible for the first grade, right? And that is why he got assigned this grade. So he's not, even though this grade is within the package, he's not eligible for it, right? Similarly, there could be many plans within that package, but then Steve Morgan, if he's not eligible for some XYZ plan, he would not be assigned that plan, right? So even if a plan is part of a package, a grade is part of the package, I should be eligible for that as well, right? Finally, if what happens if a worker is eligible for more than one compensation package, right? Now we know that on an employee profile, I can only assign an employee a single package, right? I can only assign my employee a single grade. I can only assign my employee a single grade profile, right? I can assign him multiple plans, right? So for example, he has been assigned 3 allowance plans, right? So I can assign an employee multiple plans of the same type, but as far as package, grade profile, and steps goes, any employee can have only one of these, right? So what happens if an employee is eligible for more than one package, or I'm eligible Okay, sorry. So what happens if I'm eligible for more than one package? Or let's say I'm eligible for a single package, but within that package, I'm eligible for more than one grades, right? Or compensation grade, then these components will not default, right? A system would only be able to default something to my profile if there is no ambiguity, right? If I'm eligible for two packages, then system would not know which of these packages to assign to my profile, right? And then system would not default. But then because I'm eligible for both of them, someone I can be assigned those packages by manual selection, right? But then if you see, this takes away all the advantages of that automatic defaulting, right? We are creating all these criteria so that system automatically defaults them. And then if I end up being eligible for 10 different grades and someone still has to manually identify which grade should be assigned to me and then manually assign it to me, then me designing that entire eligibility criteria and that framework, it's of no use, right? So whenever I'm creating my rules, the first principle is those rules should be watertight, mutually exclusive, so that I do not end up being eligible for more than one packages, more than one grades. Okay, these components would not default, but having said that, but the package, because I'm eligible for them, and the plans will be available to select, right? So someone can still manually select them. All right, so these are the rules for your compensation assignment using your compensation eligibility criteria, right? Okay, as I mentioned, I have seen a project with 25 different countries, and then they just had one package, right? They had some 450 plans. I think they had some 180 one-time payment plans, right? But then out of all these 450 plans, not all plans were included in a package, right? So the question is, why would I not include all my compensation plans in a package? Because there are many scenarios wherein a manager needs to use his discretion. So even if I'm, let's say, any employee who joins my organization, he is eligible for a joining bonus. But then, do I really give a joining bonus to all of my new joiners? No, right? If someone negotiates, if someone is really critical, that is when I'll give them a joining bonus, right? So even though all employees are eligible for a joining bonus, I don't want to include joining bonus in a compensation package, because in that case, every employee who's hired, system would automatically assign him this plan called joining bonus, right? Again, referral bonus. All employees in my organization are eligible for a referral bonus, right? But then do I really give referral bonus to every employee every month? No. Only if someone refers someone, that referred person joins my organization, completes 3 months or whatever criteria has been defined, then this employee gets his referral bonus, right? So even though all employees are eligible for a referral bonus, I'm not going to include referral bonus plan in my compensation package because I don't want it to automatically default onto my employee's profile, right? And similarly, you have huge number of plans which you want to have a discretion as to whom you want to assign. And all those plans, you'll not include them in a package, right? Because you don't want those plans defaulting for every eligible employee, right? And that is why you'll not include any of those plans in a compensation package. Okay, and then those plans will not automatically default even if your employees are eligible for those plans, right? But having said that, as I mentioned, the plans are available for manual assignment or manually selecting. Okay, now we were talking about uh, job profiles, right? And we saw that a compensation grade can also be assigned on a job profile, right? Now, what happens if I am, let's say, uh, I'm hiring a new employee, right? And based on the eligibility criteria, he is eligible for grade 1, right? I'm hiring this employee on job profile 1, right? And on job profile 1, the grade that has been defaulted is grade 2, right? So based on the eligibility criteria, I'm eligible for this grade. However, the hiring employee is hired on the job profile and the job profile is defaulted to this grade, right? In that case, system gives higher preference to the grade which is assigned to the job profile, right? And then system would use this grade, right? And not the grade which is defaulted based on the uh, eligibility criteria, right? Okay, let me uh, uh, WB 13th Feb. I think this was the where is top? Okay, let me select executive group. Top Supog. This doesn't have any position, right? What I'll do is we already have, I think, I what I'll do is I would copy a business process on this. And the business process I would copy is create position, right? Uh, in here, I would uh, add a process called compensation, right? Request default compensation for position event, and I am going to assign it to HR partner, right? And I would go ahead and save this. Okay, what I would also do is I would assign Logan McNeil as the HR partner, right? And let me assign HR partner. Do we have HR partner? Not this one. I think this is some custom. Okay, this is the standard one. And I would assign it to Logan McNeil, right? Let me quickly check the BP to see I have assigned it to the correct HR partner. Where is our 13th Feb? HR partner, right? And HR, oh, we have a couple of HR partners. Let me look at the integration ID. Not this one. So this is assign underscore role hyphen 6110. And uh, what is this HR partner? Let's see. Uh, so HR underscore partner and HR underscore partner. Okay, I've done it right. Uh, okay, so what I'll do is I would create a new position in this supervisory organization, right? Where is staffing? Create position. Now I'm sure since you guys are already working in uh, uh, HCM, you would have worked in this BP as well, but then still I'm going to, and what is today's date? All right, again 1/1/2010, right? My job profile is Chief Economic Chief Chief Executive Officer, uh, LS1 grade. Okay, this is Chief Executive Officer, and the grade is again Executive Level 1, right? I would define my hiring restrictions in terms of this. Uh, Let me select location as London, right? Time type full time, worker type employee, uh, subtype regular, and okay, submit, right? What would it do? It sends that request default compensation for position event. If I go ahead and open it, right, you would see that I can assign compensation at the position level as well, right? Okay, so and here I can define my exact compensation for this position, right? So what does this guideline do? It gives me a range saying the compensation for uh, this particular job or this particular role should be in this range, right? But then with compensation for a specific position, I can define the exact value. So this gives a huge discretion to the person who is assigning that compensation. What I can do is I can come in here, I can select, okay, this is some salary plan I created, and here I can say that he should be getting 170 170,000 GBP, right? And then I would go ahead and approve this request. Okay, now you have, okay, it has, okay, that business process again had sub processes to review default compensation. Let's see if I can go to that unassigned or reassigned task. Let's see whether it is unassigned. Propose compensation higher for what is our task. It is default compensation, right? Or let's see if default compensation for top support, right? And I would assign it to myself. Let me refresh this. Okay, so if I come to my inbox, now I would have it in my inbox. Okay, and I can go ahead and approve this, and hopefully this, oh no. What is the next process? Approval by manager. Uh, okay, any which is, this is not relevant, right? So what I'm trying to say is, you can define compensation in terms of, if you see, now I have defined for this particular position, the specific grade, the specific grade profile, right? I've also defined the exact compensation components, right? Okay, so at one level, we have discussed compensation system would use the eligibility criteria, right? However, if there are grade assigned at job profile, then system would use the grade or give the preference to the grade which is assigned at the job profile and not consider the eligibility criteria, right? However, if there is grade or compensation defined at position itself, then system would consider the compensation aspects which are defined at the position level, right? So again, at position, if my grade is ABC, at job profile it is DEF, then system would use this grade when the employee is hired on that particular position, right? So your position has the or the compensation defined at the position has the highest preference. If there is no compensation at position, then system would check the grade associated with job profile. If there is no grade at job profile, then it would check the eligibility criteria to determine the default grade, package, grade profile, and all those aspects, right? Okay, uh, compensation uh, defaulting precedence, right? And even about compensation, if you have any compensation which is assigned to job requisition, system would use that. And at the top, system would check if there is any compensation which is defined at the offer level, right? We know that when we create a job requisition, we can define the default compensation for job requisition, and that is exactly similar to how we define the default compensation for position, right? So highest preference when you are hiring an employee, when you are adding a new job, when you're starting an additional international assignment, is the compensation at the offer letter. If there is no compensation at the offer letter, then system would use the compensation which is defined at the job requisition. If there is no compensation at this level, then position, then job profile, and then eligibility criteria. Okay. Uh, so offer letter, uh, job default comp at job requisition. Next, default comp at position. Next, grade at job profile, grade and grade uh, profile, whatever you have defined. And finally, the eligibility rules. Okay, so that was our compensation defaulting behavior. Uh, all right. Uh, Now we have seen, if I come back to this, right? So if I open any job profile and let me open Steve Morgan's, sorry, if I open, yeah, any job profile, and where is Steve Morgan's job profile? It is here, right? And if I go to the compensation, I can define uh, the grade. This is strange. Mm, mm, yeah, I can define the grade, and within that, the grade profile at the job profile level, right? Okay. Now I have created a new job profile to which I have assigned a grade, and then I hire an employee within that grade, right? Okay, 2 years down the line, I change or I want to change the grade which is defined at the job profile level, right? Now, obviously, all new hires would be, or any new hire using that job profile would automatically get assigned to the grade that is changed, right? But then, what about all those employees who are already assigned to that job profile and I also want to change their grade, right? In that case, I can set up adjustments to the compensation grade which is assigned to the job profile, right? And the task is set up compensation grade job profile adjustment, right? This would trigger a business process. If I search for it, okay, so this is my task. This is the associated business process, right? So whenever I set up a compensation grade job profile adjustment, it will trigger a business process. I can send it for review, approval, or any other uh, business process configuration, right? So my task is set up compensation grade job profile adjustment, and I have the associated business process, right? Let me go ahead and select OK, right? I would select a job profile and let me select this very job profile, right? I would select a date from which I want to do that adjustment, right? I would give a name to the event, right? Uh, 2020 job catalog uh, changes or whatever, right? I would select a reason. Now this is the reason with which system would trigger a business process for the employee. So if I check the worker history of all the impacted employees, system would have performed a compensation change for all the impacted employees with this reason, right? So I'm just selecting adjustment ad hoc. Right. And now I have the allowed actions, right? So any employee who is already assigned to this job profile, right, and who already has the grade associated with that job profile, system would automatically adjust that employee's grade to whatever new grade I define, right? So again, if the current grade is of CEO is, let's say, executive, right? And I have 10 employees who are in this job profile, or let's say, right? I have 4 employees in this job profile, which is CEO, and 2 of these employees also have the current grade. And for the other 2 employees, I have overwritten the grade, right? Now, for these 2 employees, when I change the grade on the job profile to, let's say, EXE1, so for these 2 employees, system would automatically change their grade from executive to EXE1, right? But for the other two, for whom I have overwritten the grade at the job profile level, there I can configure. So for those employees not in this grade in this job profile, should I adjust all these employees to the new grade or not make an adjustment? Right? So if I do not adjust, employee 3 and employee 4 would probably still remain in the grade ABC, right? And if I adjust, and he could be DEF, if I adjust, both of their grades would change to EXE1. If I do not adjust, both of their grades would change, would uh, stay what they are, right? I'll select the allowed actions who for those employees who are assigned to this job profile but not in the current grade associated with that job profile, right? I can define the proposed grade, I can define the proposed grade profiles and submit, right? This will trigger a process and I can check the adjustment in the worker history and the compensation history of all the employees in that job profile, right? So this is exactly similar to my uh, compensation step adjustments, right? Okay, employees in the current job profile, but not in the current grade, right? Their grade can be adjusted to the new grade or left as S. Okay, so this is your grade adjustment and all the defaulting aspects of uh, that Workday uses in uh, when it comes to your compensation, right? Now, guys, your defaulting would not happen on all your compensation related business processes. For example, in request compensation change, system would not invoke any eligibility rules, right? It only does that on, for example, your proposed compensation higher business processes, right? Because that is where you're proposing new compensation for your employees. Okay, any questions till this part? All
No,
right.
Saeed, I think so.
Okay, thank you. We have just 10-15 minutes. I would not start with uh, allowance plans today. What we'll do is I'll just give you a couple of so I'm sure you guys are already aware of the Workday standard reports report, which would give you all the standard reports in any given functional area. I'll just go through the standard reports which are available in the compensation functional area, right? There are a few reports. Uh, One is employee compensation audit. So some reports which are used very often. Uh, One is employee compensation audit. What is the purpose of this report? As the name suggests, it is an audit of employees' existing compensation, right? If I come to, okay, let me select global modern services, right? And all subordinate organizations, and okay. Now it gives me a few very important pieces of information. I should have selected. Oh, okay. This usually doesn't take this long. In the meantime, let me also uh, there is compensation spreadsheet report and also something called compensation changes report, right? For any project, most of the projects you'll see that either these reports are used as is or they would have been copied and customized, right? So what is employees compensation audit? If you see, it gives me some very important pieces of information. The first one, for each employee, right, it gives me what are those compensation components that employee is eligible for and have been assigned to the employee, right? So Adam Carlton is eligible for all these compensation components and they are all assigned to the employee, right? It also shows me all those compensation components that this employee is eligible for but have not been assigned to the employee, right? And most importantly, it shows me if any compensation components are assigned to an employee that he is ineligible for, right? So Amit Patel is not eligible for a mobile allowance. However, he is assigned this compensation component. Maybe because the eligibility rule on this compensation component probably changed after it was assigned to Amit, or it could be for any other reason, right? So it shows me eligible, assigned, unassigned components as well as ineligible assigned components. Okay, so your compensation, employee compensation audit, as I mentioned, it identifies workers in a specific organization who are incorrectly associated with any compensation plan or components, right? It also identifies eligible workers who do not have a specific plan in their compensation, right? And as I mentioned, most projects would either use this report as is or would have some variations of this report. So you can always copy this report, right? Okay, the next one is your compensation spreadsheet. Global modern services. Okay. Okay, it gives me all the details of a given employee, right? In the sense, all their compensation component assignment. So their package, their grade profile, what is the minimum, maximum compensation based on their grade profile, uh, what is their primary compensation basis. We'll talk about that later, and all the different plans, right? Okay, I think someone had asked me, can we show uh, warnings or these ranges uh, to anything apart from total base pay as well, right? We can do that. Remind me tomorrow. There's another aspect to compensation package that we discussed today, which is called compensation package analytics, right? And we'll talk about that tomorrow. Uh, okay, so it gives me all these aspects of employees in a given uh, organization, right? Okay, so compensation spreadsheet for any organization and its subordinates. Uh, Use the report to view workers and all their compensation components, right? Uh, it shows the compa ratio, their hire date, the segments, and all those different aspects, right? Okay, and finally, what do we have? Compensation changes report. Let's see what this report shows us. Okay, it will basically show me all the compensation changes over a given period of time, right? So I can select, let's say, from 1st of Jan 2019 till, let's say, today, all compensation changes that have happened for my employees in a given organization hierarchy or a single organization, right? It shows me all the different business processes which have impacted employees' compensation. So Nathan Moore, his compensation changed because of this business process. The status is completed. The reason for that was adjustment, and what was uh, the changes that have been done as part of that event, right? So it shows all the compensation changes history for workers, right? So can be used to view all compensation changes for workers within a time period, right? I can check all events which are in progress, completed, or any of the other status, right? So I can check all the compensation events which are still in progress, right? Or which are already completed, or any other status. Okay, as I mentioned, if you want to check all the workday delivered reports in compensation area, you can check the standard report, and then you can review all the workday delivered reports in this area. Okay, I'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll talk about compensation package analytics. Uh, um, I should have done that today, forgot. And we'll talk about the other plan types as well. So we'll talk about all the other plan types. You'll find they are pretty straightforward. They all follow the same uh, general principle. We'll talk about all the different plans which are supported in Workday. Uh, all right, guys, I'll stop here. If we do not have any questions, we can reconvene tomorrow. Okay, so guys, this week at least we'll connect at 11:30. For next week, I'll confirm on the timings, right? Most probably will not have a session on Friday because Friday is when I have my certification exam. So we might
Mhm.
not have a session on Friday.
Okay. Yep.
All right,
Thanks.
guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much. You have a good day ahead. We'll talk again tomorrow. Bye, guys. Take care.
Yeah. Bye. Take care. Bye.